Deputy Foreign Minister of Norway, Andreas, thank you very much for speaking to CGTN.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
How much Norway actually contributed to increasing relations between China and Europe?
Well, I think it's important for international stability that Europe and China has a robust and solid relationship. So we have tried to facilitate that. We have a similar relationship to China as that of the EU. Our relationship and our strategy towards China, again, is very similar to that of the EU. So we have decided that we want to collaborate with China on a whole host of issues. We don't think that any global problem can be resolved without the participation of China. And we have a very robust trading relationship with China. We see China as important, as I said, in order to sustain multilateralism, in order to reform the UN, in order to achieve all these important results, in order to ensure that we can have a global community based on prosperity and based on international law and the UN. That requires us to collaborate very closely with China. But of course, Norway is one state amongst many states in Europe, so we will coordinate very closely with our European partners.
In March this year, you visited China. You were in Beijing, you were in Hong Kong. And I will quote what you mentioned on the social media, that only a few countries are more relevant to visit in today's geopolitical situation, referring to China. So how do you perceive China's evolving role in international relations?
Well, I think no matter how you describe it, China has a very important role to play at the world stage. It's the world's second largest economy. It is important, again, as I said, to sustain the UN, to sustain international stability. So I think visiting China is critically important for us. We've had the Prime Minister visiting, we've had the Foreign Minister visiting, myself and other members of the Cabinet have visited. And for us, it's clear that no problem, no challenge can be overcome without the participation of China. So we think it's critical that we maintain a very close relationship with China, that we understand the Chinese thinking around certain issues, be it the environmental crisis, be it other types of crises, also where we have different opinions. Having said that, we have a compartmentalized relationship to China, so we are capable of having issues of disagreement on the one hand, but also having very strong partnerships on the other hand. So
China is among top import partners for Norway. Other way around is not the case, because Norway's exports to China are not as huge. So how do you think that can change? How do you see the future of bilateral trade relations between the two countries?
Well, I think that's one of the areas where we really want to see more activity. There is already significant activity, and things are moving, I think, in the right direction. When you look at the core industries in Norway that are relevant for China, we are making lots of progress. Lots of Norwegian businesses are, in fact, exporting to China and also importing from China. I think last year we had China being the most important, or the third most important market for our sea products, and that's important for us. As you know, we're a seafaring nation.
I see that the popularity of Chinese EVs is huge here. I read somewhere that it is over 11% of entire EV market here is taken by the Chinese EV companies. Why Chinese EVs are so popular here in Norway, unlike in some other European countries?
Well, I think it's important to take a step back and just to appreciate that Norway has been leading when it comes to transforming our passenger cars, so that we now have a very close to 90% of all the cars sold in Norway at the current moment are in fact EV cars. And our ambition is that all cars sold at the end of the year will be EV cars. And again, we've achieved that by various means, incentivizing individuals so that they will get certain benefits if they buy electric cars as opposed to gas-driven cars. It's important for Chinese companies, for American companies, European companies to be present in the Norwegian market, and for Norwegian customers to have an opportunity to buy the cars that fit their priorities. And that's something that we have tried as government representatives to facilitate. Well, our partnership with China, as I said, is based on the fact that no global problem can be resolved without the participation of China. And I think one of those challenges that we have to overcome is the climate crisis. And we recognize that China plays a pivotal role in terms of overcoming that. China has set forth pretty ambitious climate targets for itself. Norway has also established very clear ambitions in terms of carbon neutrality by 2055. So that's something that we want to achieve. And I think in order for us to achieve that, we have to collaborate with all countries. I think it's important for all countries to find the right balance between regulation and innovation. For us, it's important that we adhere to international law, that we adhere to various branches of international law, not least trade law, but also other aspects of the international legal framework. And that's something that we take very seriously. Also here in Norway, we have domesticated various international legal principles to ensure that all our companies, all our academic institutions, our experts have in fact an obligation, also by way of our domestic legislation, to comport with our international legal obligations. And we're having very robust conversations, constructive conversations with China and within the confinements of the UN, the World Trade Organization, where these things are being discussed. And I think for our two countries to be able to strengthen our partnership also in terms of innovation and new technology, it's important that both our countries and also Europe as such come together and coalesce around these norms. We have an obligation to try to understand each other's perspectives. So for us, it's been important to travel to China, to listen to the perspectives of China, to meet with our Chinese counterparts. And this is why we've had a number of visits now over the course of the last few months and years to China from Norwegian officials, again, in order to understand the Chinese perspective, but also to convey Norwegian priorities, Norwegian standpoints. When I traveled to China, that was one of my central takeaways, was that we were able to have constructive, frank, open discussions also on topics that can be difficult, the war in Ukraine being one of them. So for countries such as the European countries, Norway, of course, being one of those European countries, it's critical that we maintain a dialogue with China, that we collaborate with China where we can to our mutual benefit.
Deputy Foreign Minister of Norway, Andreas, thank you very much for speaking to CGTN.
Thank you very much.